I've cut this cup in half on my wet saw, and I cut the handle off first, and I've cut out a petal pattern and I've drawn it on one side of the cup. I don't expect them all to be perfect, but I could get the wet saw and cut in half again and down again if I like, but I can't be bothered, so I'm just going to aim across here, hold this very firmly, and with the Leponitt give a good sharp bang. That was pretty good. And then I won't be able to cut it perfectly, but let's give another go. As long as I get the much, even if they're not the full petal, it doesn't matter. So I'm aiming across that line here, so I hold it very firmly, lots of pressure there, and put it in and go bang, and that came out perfect. Wouldn't read about it, would you? There we go. And then I'll cut off the heel part. There we go. So now I need to cut across this one, see how it goes. Just got to get a feel for where you think it might run the best. This could be a bit of hit and miss. Perfect. The whole thing is holding the pressure on that other side. So now I'll be able to easily cut out 1, 2, 3, 4 from that side, and so I'll do the same on this side. I'm going across the cup because it's more curve than this way, but you can do whatever you like. Sometimes if you need to get something out, you just go for it. So this time I'm going to work out where it would go, and I've got a bit of white here. The print didn't go right round, so I'll put that down towards the end because it'll probably get buried in the flower itself. So if I know I want to cut roughly across there and there, this time I'll cut it before I draw the petal on. So in there, hand firmly on the other side, really firm, hand down the end of the Leponitt, nice and sharp, and go bang. Good, perfect. Cut off that excess heel there. They could make something interesting. And now I can draw the pattern on here. Going to go this way. So if I make a bit of a mark first where I'm going to cut across, aiming there, pop it in there, hold it really tight, hard as you can there, thump, perfect. And then on this one, same thing again, aiming about there, pop that in there, hold it firmly, hard, bang. Okay, so they all cut where I wanted. You're not always that lucky, and it doesn't matter, just get what you can out of it. So this one will just get something on. There we are. So I'm not going to a lot of trouble with the pattern as long as it's basically the shape that I want, because I can cut them down more later. Yeah. If I like this pattern, I will make this a permanent flower in my collection and do it properly. Very pretty cup. It's going to look lovely if this works out in our basket of flowers. Okay, so I get my cutting tent handy, and I'm going to cut them out. Cutting off the biggest bits first so that I can keep those for other little flowers. And here we go, nibble, 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 tiny little bites, edging it off. And my wheels worked a little loose, so I could tell straight away it wasn't cutting right. So we just get the Allen key wherever I put it. Here it is. Always have it handy and tighten it up. There you go. All good. So tiny little bites, working along the black line. As I've said over and over, you can decide if you want it jerky or very smooth edge. If you want it as smooth as possible, you've got to go over the last place you cut and sort of edge it as you go, little tiny bites. Or you can file it if you like. There we go, there's one. Oh, I'm all fingers and thumbs today. Cut off that big bit. I might be able to use that for something. And again across here. I love using the Leponitt because they're small in my hand and they really get close to the line. Never had any problem with them at all. You can buy the Leponitt nippers from OzMosaics and the Mosaic Mall, our online store at OzMosaics. And we also have the larger handled wheel nippers. They're not Leponitt, but they do the job if you have very thick china. And I'll just show you, some people find them better in their hands. It's totally up to you. I can see I forgot to draw down that side. I could just guess it, but I'll just put the pattern back on. Such a pretty little cup. I bought these specially for the workshops. So we'd have enough. Here we go. So you might like to use the longer handled nippers. On this one they don't seem to make much difference, but it depends on your hands and the crockery. So I often will try one or the other. I've always got them on the go. I think the Leponitts are working well for these tiny little edge bites. If you find you can't cut the thicker china, get some English china or fine china. It's much easier to cut, but it doesn't always have these modern colours. So this is looking quite good already. I want to build a flower that sort of goes back on itself. Excuse my messy hands. I've been doing so many different things this week that I'll clean them up when I'm finished. Another thing is if you put the nipper on the table and feed the crockery in, you may find it easier to cut and less stress if you're holding it up in the air. See, the nipper's actually sitting on the tabletop. I've got a saucer in this pattern that I'm going to use as well. So it'll give a bit more fill to our basket of flowers that we're making for this workshop. It's always a bit harder when you've got a group of people, because if you want to supply everything, some people get upset if they haven't got exactly the same crockery as somebody else, and you can't help that. So I do my best. If not, they can do all white, just learn the procedure and find what they want when they go home. At least it saves them having to get out there and do a lot if they're traveling or they're busy before the class. Imagine cutting all these lovely little flowers out of a cup, like all the little circles, and using them in so many things. It's often hard to decide which bit crockery you want to use. These are little cappuccino cups and saucers. I'm not making any particular flower here. I'm just making a whimsical one, and that means I can have as many petals as I like. I'm not being botanically correct, but you can be. Please don't ask me what it is. Okay, so if you look at that, this could be something quite lovely. I'm not sure yet. Almost looks like a peacock tail, doesn't it? There we go. I'm going to go and see what I'm going to do with it.